Good day, Internet. This is DTNS Live for Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025. From Studio Animal House, I'm Sarah Lane.
From Studio 7 in Los Angeles, I'm Tom Merritt.
From Progpan Central here in Salt Lake City, I'm Scott Johnson.
And I'm the show's producer, Roger Chang.
Daily Tech News Show live made possible by you listening right now. In fact, Laminar Rainbow giving us a super sticker right off the top of the show. Also, big thanks to Chris Allen, Mark Gibson, Reed Fischler, and we got a new patron, Mark.
Hey.
Everybody welcome Mark. Mark is the best.
Woo,
Mark
woo,
is the best.
woo, woo. Mark is the best. And all of our patrons are the best, and now Mark is one of the best as well. Welcome to DTNS Live, everyone. This is the show where we discuss the tech news so we all understand it a little bit better as we go through it together. Now, Scott, I don't know that I've ever heard Frog Pants Central before.
Yeah, I don't know why I said that today either. I usually don't say that. I usually say just Frog Pants Studios, and for some reason, I wrote Central this time.
I like
and
it.
I said it, yeah. Maybe I'm onto something. I don't know. Maybe there's new
I mean,
idea.
it is sort of your central area for the
That would
Frog
imply
Pants
you
stuff.
have satellite areas for Frog Pants
I
as
know,
well.
and I really don't. Not really. I mean, we're about to have a satellite area in Las Vegas next week, but I have to go there, so it's not really satellite. I am the satellite.
It's temporary. It won't stay there.
Maybe you were like, there was some foresight here. You're like, this is Central, Frog Pants Central, because I am going to be taking my Frog Pants pants to Vegas next week.
Yep, I'm going to pick them up and take them to Vegas, and it's going to be great. I'm very much looking forward to that, by the way, and I know we have a few shared listeners who are going to be there. Very excited. Tom, of course, is going to be there. I'm going to be there. It's going to be a blast. So just a little pre-shout
We're going to
out
do
everybody.
this very show live on Monday next week from Las Vegas with Scott and Ibbett and Bobby Frankenberger and Dr. Nikki. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah,
What
gonna
kind
be
of
great.
pants, though?
Frog,
You have to
on
come
now.
and see. Stay tuned and find
All right,
out.
let me get on a plane. I'll be there.
Yeah.
I'll be like, hey, guys.
Or you can watch live, yeah.
Yes. No, that's fun. Roger, how are you doing in this sort of overcast LA day that we're having?
I'm all right. It's I hate, it's weird to say, but I never really believed in the whole seasonal effectiveness disorder thing. Yeah. But as I get older, I find my moods are very heavily influenced by whether or not it's a sunny or overcast day.
Well,
Nice.
yeah, I mean, you wouldn't be alone.
I have
alone
been
in
given
that.
my comeuppance at the turn of the century, or at least the turn of my century.
It's 2025. It's not the turn of the century.
No, my century.
His century. Century
You're turning
Roger.
100?
I thought you were
half.
like
I
mine.
said
You look
half a
so
century.
much younger. Yeah.
You really look great.
You look great for a century, Roger.
Well, it's the blueberries in the morning. It's
Those
it
antioxidants,
really is.
man.
It's a miracle.
Yeah, you're on one. Yeah, biotin.
Superfood.
Yeah, it'll do it. All right. Well, we are here to talk about tech news, so let's get started with the quick hits.
The European Commission has fined Apple 500 million euros for violating the Digital Markets Act in its rules for allowing alternative payment options in iOS apps. It allows them, it's just the way it allows them that the EU has a problem with. Meta was also fined 200 million euros for not providing an equivalent free service for Facebook and Instagram that didn't include targeted ads, something it has changed since that investigation began. So they're only fined for the period that they didn't have the option. Both Apple and Meta say they plan to appeal these decisions.
WhatsApp is rolling out a new advanced chat privacy feature to stop somebody in a single or a group chat from doing something like exporting chat content, auto-downloading media, or using AI integrations, at least without the rest of the group knowing. The feature is opt-in and set to expand globally over the next couple of months. And if you're wondering, wait a second, is screenshot prevention a part of this? The company has not said.
Yeah, they won't stop you from using your other phone to take a picture of the screen of the phone either.
There's always a workaround. Come on, let's be honest.
Meta is expanding features for its Ray-Ban smart glasses, including real-time translation in English, French, Italian, and Spanish, which also work offline because they have pre-downloaded language packs. New frame colors also on the way, broader availability of Meta AI across the EU as they so slowly comply. The glasses are also set to launch in Mexico, India, and the United Arab Emirates, and add more music app support for things like Spotify and Apple Music.
Bloomberg sources say that Intel may lay off more than 21,000 people, or 20% of its workforce, a lot of people, later this week. Guess we will find out later this week if that happens to be true.
Nvidia is expanding its G Assist assistant on Windows beyond just games, with plugin support for apps like Spotify, Twitch, Gemini, and more. These plugins, which run locally on RTX GPUs, so you got to have one of those, let you do voice control for music playback, get your stock updates, change device settings with your voice, and a bunch of other stuff. A plugin builder is also available if you want to make custom functionality.
Discord co-founder Jason Citron is stepping down as CEO, appointing gaming industry vet Humam Saknini to lead the company. Citron will stay on as a board member and also an advisor, and some folks are saying this seems to be pointing to a readying of an IPO, although the company hasn't said that that's the case. Saknini previously worked at both Activision Blizzard and King. As Google's antitrust trial's remedy phase remains ongoing, OpenAI has expressed interest in buying Chrome if the Department of Justice forces Google to divest it, which is unlikely, but let's just say it happens. Let's look at that idea. OpenAI's head of product, Nick Turley, said that owning Chrome would allow them to create an AI-first browsing experience. Not really sure what that means, but, we weren't here 10 years ago either. Integrating ChatGPT deeply into something like Chrome, if it was owned by OpenAI. The DOJ sees Chrome as central to Google's alleged monopolistic behavior. So, OpenAI has also explored building its own browser, recently hired former Chrome developers. Probably not lip service here. Probably something that the company would be serious about if it could indeed happen. So I wanted to go around the horn. How do we all feel about this idea?
It's not going to happen. That is the first thing I want to say is like the chances that the judge actually accepts the DOJ recommendation to make them divest Chrome is very low. If the judge accepts that recommendation, then Google's going to appeal. And on appeal, the idea that another judge would also agree to make them divest Chrome is very low. So this is the DOJ pushing their case, which is exactly what they should do. The lawyer is earning their money. This is OpenAI going like, in a world where we are able to buy Chrome, would we buy it? Sure. Heck yeah. We'd totally do that if that was an option. We would try. They also said so would a lot of other people, so it's not guaranteed that they would get it. So it's fun. It's fun to speculate on what would happen in that case. But I just want to set that down in front of this conversation that like this ain't gonna happen. You see a lot of headlines kind of implying that it's gonna happen. This is probably not gonna happen.
No, it's more of like, let's talk hypothetical life.
Yeah, let's fantasize.
So, let's for people, I know a lot of people out there would be like, well, I mean, is it Chrome or is it like anything Chromium related? Because that would be a very different situation. If OpenAI owned the open source Chromium browser, like then it would basically own everything on the internet.
It wouldn't be open source anymore if they owned Chromium. So, what could actually happen that's close to that? Maybe Google is forced to divest the team that works on Chromium as part of the Chrome browser, and then they buy Chrome and they get that team and they have effective control over Chromium, even though they don't own Chromium, which is kind of the situation now, right? It's open source. Microsoft's part of it. Opera's part of it. Almost everybody except Apple's part of it, and Mozilla. But Google employs the most people that work on Chromium. So I guess it's possible that if somebody were to buy Chrome, they would get all those people that work on Chromium.
Yeah. Well, obviously the big advantage of them buying Chrome as is, starting there and not building their own browser or acquiring somebody else, if in this fantasy world this happened, it would mean a huge install base of users that they would have right away, and not, that would be a gigantic step forward for them. But the problem is, and you alluded to this before, there are many, many, many parties, AI related or not, that is also true of. Like if somebody could suddenly acquire the number one browser on the planet and have control over it, you have a way less hill to climb. in terms of getting eyeballs on there. Instead, you just start rolling out your features. You start doing the things you would do to your own browser anyway.
Well, and some of the, we've had this conversation. But first of all, I know you and I, Scott, and Tom and Roger, of course, as well. We're all kind of like, new browser, let's try it out.
Yeah.
How's it different? How's
way
it
too many
work?
browsers.
Yeah, I mean, it's just we do this like 3 times a year when something comes across our desk.
Ooh, Arc. Shiny
Yeah.
new. Let's
Right?
do it.
Yeah, let's try it. Going back to Chrome, but the idea of using anything but Google as your dominant search engine was, I mean, 5 years ago, it's like, what are you talking about? I mean, who would that be? What company would be doing that? And now, not so much browser, but just search in general. The AI folks are really coming from these incumbents. They really are. I have friends now who are like, oh yeah, I use ChatGPT search. That's just what I use. I still can't get my head around that totally day to day, but. This is all to say, I think that what seems crazy right this second may not be so crazy in the not so distant future.
Speaking of browsers integrating AI, Firefox just released not too long ago, I want to say maybe a week ago, version 137. And it integrated AI in a way that Firefox has never done before. There's a new sidebar tab thing that you can select. You can also select in real time which search engine you want to use if you're using traditional search. But I can easily assign ChatGPT or any other competing LLM to this thing.
Yeah.
And hit that little button and highlight text in the regular browser. Let's say a whole paragraph about, you're talking about the new ownership or the new guy coming in over at Discord. He used to be at Blizzard. That's interesting stuff. You highlight that paragraph, and it'll analyze that and do all the things GPT already does if you go in there manually. But it's all like right here and integrated into the browser. Once you get a taste of how some of these things interact, you can see why this would be really valuable for OpenAI or others to have, to be ready for this. Because I hate to say it, because I've been very critical of certain generative aspects of AI for a long time now, and still am. But when it comes to LLMs and solving problems and proofreading and quickly doing math and some of these like everyday task stuff that the free LLMs are there for, they're really great once you start using them and you realize, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can go back to the other way of doing this. Even my search with DuckDuckGo always has a short AI summary up top. It's not OpenAI. I think it's I don't know who it is. It might be Anthropic. I'm not sure who it is. But whoever that is, I get pretty good answers there anyway. And oftentimes don't even need to go down the list to see what else is in there. So this integration is going to happen more and more across all browser types. Why not have the biggest browser in the world do it? Certainly, if it ends up staying in Google's hands, they're going to do this like crazy with Gemini.
Yeah, they're adding Gemini to it already, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, it's not a shock that OpenAI would want to add its own if it owned a browser, and it's going to make a browser, and it's going to be Chromium. Yeah. Also, if there was a world where somehow this makes it all the way through the court and Google is forced to divest itself of Chrome, whether OpenAI buys it or not, is it going to prevent Google from making another browser?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, why wouldn't Google just make like the Geminizer?
Yeah,
Gemini.
And then,
it could be called the Geminizer.
If we're trying to have a remedy for Google abusing its dominant position in search text advertising, how is the judge going to justify? How is any judge going to justify? And now they can't make browsers either. Like, that's way too broad of a remedy for that, to say you can never make a browser. And if you don't prohibit them from ever making a browser, they're just going to make a new Chromium. Yeah. And then it's going to be called, the Geminizer, actually.
And this is the thing. Google was really astute in integrating pretty much all of the Google Online functionality built into the browser. So they would strip that away and just say, hey, we can no longer offer it because OpenAI now owns Chrome. But we now have Geminizer that does all the same thing, including storing your password manager, your Google ID and all that, all integrated.
Yeah.
But that's
That
what
would
Chrome
basically
does
be
already.
Chrome already does it, but the
that's what I'm
point,
saying.
the main point is the ceiling has raised. So what happened here is that judges are looking at this current ceiling and going, browser dominance, that's not fair, blah, 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 blah. And then
That's
the
not
ceiling
what they're
went,
looking at, though.
I know, but then
and
the ceiling went, and now it's
that's
up
what the
here with all this
DOJ
AI.
This is I know I keep going on like a broken record. The DOJ is asking for this. The judge isn't anywhere close to granting it. If you read all of the judge's opinions,
Well, that's
he's
why
very
we're talking
skeptical of the
hypotheticals
idea.
at
But a
this
lot of
point.
people are kind of carrying on this conversation as if like, oh, this is going to happen. So I just have to keep reminding it because that's our job.
Media
at this show.
momentum,
Yeah.
gets us to this place where it's like, so wow, so Google has to sell Chrome? No,
Yeah.
that's not.
I also think there's a
that's
little
not the
wishful
conversation,
thinking.
But
I
what
think
if it
some
did?
people want to see it happen,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that
I mean,
that's coloring.
in a perverse way, I sort of do.
Yeah, I
It's
want to
not-
see,
if
I like trouble.
I know people who work at Google. It's like it's not like I'm like, screw Google. That's totally not. But I'm like, what if we shook it up? What would it look like?
Yeah, there is a
It
thing where
looks
you got
like
a long
Google recreating Chrome.
when you have long-standing
Just with
dominance.
with like a lot fewer users at first.
Yeah,
When-
I mean,
when you have-
Microsoft Edge is almost Chrome with a Microsoft login. What if Google made a
Right.
new Chrome with a Google login? Well, then it's pretty much Chrome under a
Well,
different
what if
name.
they were not
Yeah.
allowed to use the Chromium?
Well, then you're preventing them from making browsers, which is again, I go
And
back
then
to like
yeah,
that
it
seems
turns
way
into an
too
open source
broad.
conversation.
Like
Yeah.
the suit isn't about browser dominance. The suit is about text advertising and search. So I'm not sure that follows.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, the Nintendo Switch has been available for pre-order in most of the world and goes up for pre-order in Canada and the US on Thursday. It is highly anticipated. A lot of people want the Switch too. But Nintendo is already admitting not everybody who wants one is going to get one, at least at first. So what's going on, Tom?
Yeah, Nintendo had a lottery system for pre-orders, and Nintendo president Shintaro Furukawa said on X, we received applications from 2.2 million people in Japan alone, saying that far exceeded expectations, surpasses the number of Nintendo Switch 2 units that can be delivered on June 5th, which is when they ship. And then wrote, so with some regrets, they anticipate that a significant number of customers are not going to be selected in the lottery announcement on April 24th, and that even though they will be automatically entered in the second round, he also said the second round is probably not going to be able to get everybody a Nintendo Switch 2. By comparison, if this number 2.2 million that he said is right, the original Switch sold 360,000 units in Japan in its first month. And he's saying there's 2.2 million pre-orders. So let's back
In
that out.
Japan.
In Japan.
Just
right?
Japan.
Yeah,
Just
just
Japan.
in Japan.
Yeah.
Maybe some of those aren't going to buy it, right? They just applied and they didn't mean to.
Yeah.
Even if you cut that in half to 1.1 million, that's still 3 times as many Switches sold the first time around. And Scott and I talked about this a little on TMS this morning, and I was like, yeah, supply chains are weird right now because they had to ship a bunch to the US ahead of tariffs and all that. Maybe that complexity is causing this. But since we talked, Scott, I sort of think that there's other things going on here. Maybe more people motivated to buy this because of those tariff, they're worried that they won't get one. So people are jumping on the application, and a lot of people buying them for resale would be my guess.
I think there's always some of that going on for sure. I also just think that this is Nintendo maybe underestimating how excited people are about their second console in the Switch generation. It'd be funny if they went on to say in this whole thing about their 2 million pre-orders that, hey, we got warehouses full of old Wii U's if anybody wants any. I mean, they could have maybe done that. But this is not one of those turns. This is not one of the...
side note, the Switch 2 is the Wii U in the cycle.
It is. Yeah, that's my point. It's like you've got these cycles Nintendo's known for, which is strong launch, kind of weak launch, strong, weak. It's kind of gone that way. It's like Star Trek movies. They always bounce back and forth for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And this is not all that different. But 2 million in the homeland of the company, in Japan alone, is crazy considering we haven't even opened pre-orders. They've done some like interest sign-up stuff prior to this from North America. But if we're not even counting Europe in here yet, we're not counting the Americas at all, we're not counting Canada, all these other major territories, there's no way this is going to be a problem. Like holiday is going to roll around and people are going to be screaming for it to get Switch 2s for their kids. It's not going to be easy. So I think this is going to look a lot like the pandemic lack of being able to buy, at least initially anyway, Xbox Series and PlayStation 5, which went on much longer trying to get PS5s. I think we're about to mirror that, and it won't be because of a pandemic, hopefully. It'll mostly be about
at least it isn't now.
It isn't now. All those birds and cows, keep to yourselves for a minute. But at the end of this year, I don't think people are going to be able to go shopping and pick up Switch 2s. I just think it's going to be virtually
only
impossible.
be able to pick up Wii U's.
Yeah. I don't know. I keep bringing that one up.
But Mom, I don't want the Wii U.
But I mean,
it
like,
says Nintendo, honey. That's what you get.
That's what we're getting.
Yeah.
But Nintendo, especially with the Switch and the Switch 2, is in a position where you don't necessarily. Well, I can't get a Switch 2, so I'm going to buy a PS5 or an Xbox because that. I
Not
can
the
see.
same thing.
Yeah, it's not the same thing. I can see
not
I can't
equivalent.
get a PS5.
I'll get
go
an
to
Xbox
Xbox.
instead.
I'll get an Xbox, yeah.
But
Maybe later get the other one, sort of thing.
I mean,
sure.
honestly, Nintendo's in a pretty good spot. At least, granted, the consumers might feel a little left out, but there's a huge demand for it. It's not going to.
Am I crazy for thinking maybe Nintendo really did underestimate the demand? Like, let's discount resellers, probably being more interested now because they know there's going to be restrictions, and shipping issues. Even then, this is still well more than the interest that they probably expected.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I don't think it is possible in this day and age for a company that big who's been doing logistics at this level for a very long time. I think it is still possible for consumer sentiment to swing their direction. And I think they're maybe even more surprised given that how much more expensive this device is than the previous one.
Yeah.
With no tariffs taking effect at all on that.
It's
That's
not
just
a
the way
new
it is.
design. It looks pretty
not
much
really.
like the other one.
Yeah, it's bigger and there's nice things, but you don't see it at a glance. It's not a drastic change, right? We're just iterating here. And you've announced that your new games, your first party games, are going to be $80 at a minimum.
Yeah.
And we already know you never do sales. Like you're putting up these big financial walls and saying, "Hey, come on and buy one." What do you think now? I think they underestimated
it's this high.
it.
Like,
Yeah, I am
I
too.
could have seen 1 million. I could easily see 1 million, but 2.2.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. I think that they're going to do fine. I think they have enough to
Carry people over.
to carry it over and carry the hype over. I don't. There are going to be some gnashing of teeth, and there's going to be some serious issues with scalping and some other stuff. But there always is with a hot number like this. I just think most of us, and I include me in this because I just don't know what my chances are. I think most of us are looking at mid next year before we even get hands on a Switch.
There's always a difference between the loud minority and the quiet majority, right? People are like, I'll never buy this. And then a bunch of people buy it. There's also a difference between people signaling what they won't do and then what they actually end up doing.
100%.
A lot of those people saying they'll never buy a Switch 2 at that price will buy a Switch 2 at that price if they get a chance. So I think that explains some of it. How about this, though? What if another part of this is booming demand in the younger populace? People who are kids who saw the Super Mario movie and are now into Nintendo. They're now into Kirby. They're now into Zelda. And they are demanding their parents get the Switch 2. And that causes way more applications for pre-orders than they would have expected because they expected it from an older demographic.
No, you're right. And because the parents are, and the thing is, the parents are all Nintendo heads too. They grew up with this stuff.
Right.
So this isn't the same as me begging my mom for an NES. She didn't have any reference point for this. This seemed like a waste of time for any teenager to be interested in. But now, parents my age, they know. They know what they
They
like.
know, and
They're probably they're hoping to get most of the time with the freaking thing, or they're buying two, so they have their own.
My niece's parents, one of the things they do is play Nintendo with their kids, right? Like that, the exact thing we're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, it can be a family affair. It also, some not my own children, but friends' children that I hang out with as of late love Mario Kart. And even Mario Kart, they're like, oh, Mario Kart, like that's, almost for old people. And we're like, you have no idea. And they don't even care about like Super Mario, like the whole lore before. It's like, no, it's a racing game, which is very fun to do when you have a couple Switches.
Oh yeah, no, it's a blast. You're set up. What Nintendo did, I don't even know if they meant to do it, but they've spent the last 35, 40 years fomenting anticipation and dedication, and they did it through having their own kind of cycle. Like it used to be they were the leader of the good generation, but now they don't even compete. This is happening on their own timeline even. This is happening in the middle of a console generation.
Yeah.
So they don't have any competition right now. And Roger's right. Nobody's going to go, well, I guess I'll just get a PlayStation. No, you've already got one if you were going to get one. This is their oyster to crack open and eat, and they will.
Yeah.
And we're all going to pay for it.
Well, let us know how those oysters sit with you on our social networks. You can find us at DTNS Show on pretty much all the platforms. We are on X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Mastodon at DTNS Show. For TikTok and YouTube, find us at Daily Tech News Show.
All right, Scott. Yesterday, Bethesda made the release of the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered official. And the internet, if you like these sorts of things, going wild. So what is happening here?
All right. So this is an interesting set of circumstances. Bethesda, now owned by Microsoft, games under their belt include things like Skyrim, the aforementioned Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. These are all in the same series, but they have kind of owned that space for a really long time, done really well with it. They also make all the Fallout games, which now has people buzzing about possible remasters in the Fallout series. But the bottom line of it is this: they kind of stealth released this. When I say kind of, there were some leaks and rumors a couple of weeks prior to this that everyone kind of dismissed. We were like, really? Doesn't sound real. Nothing from the companies about this. Nobody had been talking about it. And what was being rumored then turned out to be true, a full remastering of the game. And I don't just mean, oh, it's 4K now and maybe some of the textures aren't as muddy. They rebuilt the game, essentially, the shell of it anyway, in Unreal 5, and it shows. I played this game for 4 hours last night. It's on Game Pass as well. It's another sneaky little thing they got to do with this thing and get it in a lot of hands. And it's really good, like a genuinely thoughtful approach to remastering. This is not some quick, let's get it out, make a quick buck on nostalgia and get away from it. Like it's actually vast improvement in lots of ways, how it controls, how it plays, how it looks for sure. The only thing really that stayed are the story, the dialogue. Patrick Stewart's still the king. Sean Bean's in it still, some of these famous actors. A lot of ridiculous jank and weirdness that the game had originally, that's still in there, but it's now in this new, very functional, came out without really any bugs state. And here's why I think it's interesting. It's interesting just from the standpoint of, hey, look at this, Elder Scrolls fans. We got Oblivion again, and it's shiny and new. That's cool. But what I think is interesting is I think shadow dropped remasters and releases like this, I think, are going to become more and more common. We already have examples of this. Hi-Fi Rush, another high-profile Microsoft game, came out on Xbox and PC out of nowhere. They announced it and then released it the same day. Nobody knew it was coming. And that game is revered. People love that game. So there's an example of a new game or a new title at the time, not a remake of something. But that's also true of Apex Legends. Hades was like that when it was announced. It was announced and released on Early Access the same day. Metroid Prime Remastered came out of Nintendo, much closer to this, where it's a remaster of a beloved game. But it also launched the day they talked about it at the Nintendo Direct. And it sold extremely well. This is, by all accounts so far, we're still waiting for final numbers, but this apparently overnight did mad business, did real, real good. And I can tell you from just sort of the video gamerati out there, all the chatter was, we all stopped talking about all the brand new stuff. Everybody suddenly went silent on almost everything else going on in games. And everybody went, we're talking about Oblivion now. And that's weird. This game came out in 2006. It's old, or at least it was. Nobody knew this was coming, and now they're all excited. I played 4 hours. I didn't plan on doing that. So they've nailed this combination of nostalgia, new technology to make the thing run, and run really well, I might add, and the fact that there's a service available called Game Pass for PC and console that lets you just play the thing and not have to worry about where am I going to get it, who am I going to pay. It's a full-price game. It's $59 on Steam. People are still buying it there. It's reviewing really well there. But having it on Game Pass day and date, what we're seeing here is this fits really well into Microsoft's whole Game Pass vibe, which is, surprise, A whole bunch of new stuff came out today. You didn't even know we were going to do. Bam, there it is. Go play it. And I think that based on sales reports, based on what we're seeing other companies do, I suspect we're going to see more of this out of Sony soon enough. But Nintendo's already kind of doing this. I think having this versus the long, drawn-out 5 years of news stories about this game in development, it's finally coming now. All right, everybody get excited. I think that's starting to drain our limited attention spans. And we are way more primed for something to surprise us and then throw money at it in a very impulsive way. And a lot of people did yesterday. So I think that's where this is at. And I do think it kind of signals, at least an aspect of gaming, that we're going to see more of this sort of thing from.
It takes advantage of something that the internet has made possible that wasn't possible before, which is when I tell you about something, you can act on it immediately. Mm-hmm. Part of the reason that you did advanced announcements was to get people time to hear about it, right?
Right.
Because they wouldn't hear about it like until a friend told them, or someone read it in a magazine, or maybe they heard it on local news or whatever, right? So you needed time for the word to get out, and then people needed to plan to go to the store to buy it. You don't have to do any of that now. When this gets announced, everybody talks about it immediately. Like you said, everybody knows about it immediately, and you don't have to go anywhere except your browser and then buy it, right? And boom, you're done. So the long lead up actually leads to people forgetting or losing interest as often as it does build up interest.
Yeah, and this thing is 119 gigabytes. It is not a small game. I think the original was maybe 7 gig or 8 gig. So this is clearly a lot of new assets, a lot of new bulk and stuff.
Gigabytes.
But so we now live in a time where 119 gigabytes is no longer a problem. You tell me 20 years ago that I got to download 119 gigabytes of anything.
I have to buy a new house.
I only have a 40 gigabyte hard drive.
Right. So this actually goes to what you're saying. The setting is right for something like this to drop without notice and not have anyone go, it'll take so long. I don't have the kind of bandwidth to download. That'll be 8 days from now or whatever. No, I had it in like 20 minutes on my freaking T-Mobile wireless 5G thing. Then that's how it's going for most people. They're just download it, play it, go. So no resistance to any of this. If you have love for the series, you have love for Oblivion in particular, or any of these other examples I've used, all those pain points are moved. And the only pain point left is, am I impulsive enough to throw down $59, or do I already pay for Game Pass and I just need to free up a little disk space, or whatever the tiny bits of pain points are, resistance is, those aren't what they used to be. And I think these companies, surely they know that, and they're taking advantage
But
of it.
isn't that sort of a negative in the long term? Because what you're essentially doing is recycling the IP, which isn't a bad thing in itself, but it's just sort of like, we're just going to go back with the stuff that's safe. We're not going to go and do anything innovative. We're not going to do anything very.
It's not the only game they're making.
Oh, that's true, but
that's it, Tom.
We're only doing Elder Scrolls 4.
In many cases, that's been the big argument for AAA games, is they got so big and so expensive to produce that the publishers just became a lot more conservative because they wanted to play it safe, because they dumped so much money in. They wanted an X amount of return.
That's true, but I think I do think that's true, but I think part of the reason you're seeing these happen this way and going back to old stuff and bringing it forward is because A, it sells, B, it's still good and worthy of selling. And if you do enough to it, you package it right, you're giving new value. So I think it was even discounted on Steam if you already owned Oblivion from way back then. They gave you some big discount for that. So it's a fair exchange. That's the one thing I like most about it. This isn't a money grab. But secondly, things like this will help fund Elder Scrolls 6, which is already underway. They're making that game. They don't have dates on it. We don't know when that's happening. It's been announced, but that was years ago. We don't know. But this kind of stuff succeeding in the interim brings three things to the table. One is wads of money for development. Money on a game you've already spent and done and finished 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, now you're going to make it again. So that's good from the financial standpoint. But it also brings that kind of that IP and its story, its characters, its run-throughs, its connections to Skyrim, and then therefore Skyrim's connections to Elder Scrolls 6. Like, this only helps the IP grow for the new things that are more expensive now, that do take longer, and they need more people to buy. So I think it actually supports that. The responsibility they have in the interim is to make sure this stuff is good and not slapped together or a garbage grab of cash or whatever. This exact example we're talking about today is an example of how to do it. And I hope this keeps happening, because I have all kinds of issues with how Bethesda does some of their business and how they make some of their games. But this is really a good move right here. I like it.
Just in the general tech umbrella is like, if you phone it in, if you slap a bunch of things together, if it doesn't feel authentic, then the people will not, they'll go somewhere else.
Yeah.
This is similar to remastering a classic music album or restoring an old movie. Has to be something people want to see again, want to see remastered, want to listen to again, right? It can't just be every single game. And then, like you say, it has to be done well.
No, that's a really good point about it not being. I meant to say this earlier, so I'm glad you said this. This thing has a few things working for it. I mentioned some of them. New tech. It's on Game Pass. There's these things that make it easy to get into it. But also that nostalgia thing cannot be disregarded. This is an IP with a massive following that's built its following over many, many years. And it's perfectly positioned to sell tons of copies because people already know. You can't just do this with a game that came out in the indie scene 10 years ago with a name you don't remember and expect the same results. You might with, it scales. Different communities, different fandoms, whatever. That can scale, and it's not that it can't work. It's just... I think you're going to see most of the time this happens. It's going to happen with these mega hits that were mega hits in their day, and now we've made them cool and awesome to play again.
Well, everybody, YouTube has reached the big 2-0. That is right.
Happy
YouTube is 20 years old. Happy birthday to you, YouTube. I can't. 20 years ago seems like a long time ago, and at the same time, I'm like, really? We didn't have YouTube 20 years ago?
I was still an adult 20 years ago. That's what scares me.
Well, speak for yourself. But okay, so in 20 years, the platform has seen quite a bit of changes from its first start with a video from the zoo. It used to be a lot of, uploaded skateboard videos. YouTube is a very different beast now. So, Roger, let's talk about where we are.
Yeah, so in celebration of the 20th anniversary, YouTube is incorporating some new features in the short and near long term. First is 4x playback speed on mobile for YouTube Premium subscribers. Subscribers to YouTube TV will be able to build their own multi-view with select non-sports content, starting with a small group of popular channels expanding in coming months. And possibly in this summer, a UI update to TV viewing that will offer, quote, easier navigation playback, quality tweaks, plus streamlined access to comments, channel and phone subscribing. And then later on in this year, creators will eventually get the ability to leave voice replies in the comments. So if someone really likes the video, it's like, I'm glad you liked it, or no, you totally didn't understand what I was saying. I'll have to go back and redo this video.
I like those. That's actually cool. I could repurpose those for shows and stuff. It's not a bad idea.
And I would literally never listen to one of them.
Never?
I'm like, you get the little arrow. I'm like, nope, don't need to hear it. Just tell me what you want.
It sounds dangerous.
In a very short sentence.
Yeah.
Thanks for the comment. Thanks for the comment.
Please subscribe. Or
like and subscribe.
And one of the more interesting things that came out of the BBC, and this is picking up from a story that we did a month ago, about how YouTube has grown so large. It's no longer just a platform for video sharing, but it is a channel as a repository where people put things, not only just to share, but just somewhere to stick something because they have no other idea of where to place the video. The Verge had sort of the same takeaway. The platform has become so diffuse that it's no longer a singular platform, but rather it's a variety of things, including podcasts on top of video sharing, informational content, group chat around live streams, and other things. For example, I did 6 years ago for my second child's baby shower. We did a baby shower live streamed on YouTube for all my wife's cousins who lived on the East Coast, so they can see us unwrapping all the stuff they got us. And I was wondering, in what way have you used YouTube in a very traditional way. In other words, you're not just watching video content that has been algorithmically picked for you, but rather you're using it as a way to, for example, I also store a lot of old tech TV videos up there. So when someone ever wants to inquire about like what TV stuff have you done, I just shoot them a link.
To me, it's like archive.org in a way. Archive.org obviously had a lot of different kinds of content, including some shared video content. But in the case of YouTube, it's mostly video, but a lot of times it's also sound. So I'm like, I need the sound effect that this character, I'm doing like a retrospective of something on my retro show, and I'd be like, I need to know what that character said on that Genesis game back in 92, and I want to record it, sample it, and use it on the show. I'm always digging around YouTube to find that. And the best part about that is they're always there. Like, that's how big it is.
There's always somebody has always given you the thing that you're looking for.
Somebody somewhere has done it. And then
you
sometimes
have
they'll
to hunt
surprise
for it
you.
sometimes, but boy, does Tom always makes this, semi joke, but not really a joke. It's like, someone's already done this.
Well,
Whatever you're thinking of, it exists.
Do a
already.
search.
Yeah.
Somebody's
Yeah.
done it. Yeah,
Let me say,
99.999% of the time.
to kind of jump off on the Tom point, notice how like Tom has everything he's ever owned directly behind him on the bookshelf. I don't have that. I only have my memory, and it really bugs me when I can't remember certain aspects of something.
Poor Roger, no
I've-
bookcase.
I have no bookcase.
I'll buy you a bookcase, Roger. I'm sorry.
In fact, I'll give you my bookcase.
I love it.
But what I find, I use YouTube a lot is for sort of like, did that actually happen? Did I remember that correctly? So it is sort of a, like, I watched this old CBS newscast or parade. Did something then happen the way I remembered it? And I go back and rewatch. It's like, yes, 50%, but it was the wrong person, and it was the wrong, animated character that was jumping up and down on the float. So in a weird way, it's sort of an encyclopedia, or sort of like
Yeah,
A video encyclopedia,
Going back
yeah.
in time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, people will talk about TikTok as a news source as well, but TikTok is like, it's very of the moment stuff. YouTube
And it hasn't been around
has
20
turned
years.
into kind of like, ooh, it's like a library.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bit of that, but there's also this. I think it changed the entire perception of users from a time where it was just expected. If you wanted to do any kind of video on the internet, you were going to pay through the teeth to do it, and it didn't matter what the method was. It was expensive. Nobody really had the bandwidth for video at that time, not like we do now, and it just seemed like, wow, this is never going to work. And then these guys come along and they say, well, just freely upload your stuff. There's no gotcha. There's no gotcha. Just upload
Freely
what you want.
upload your pirated episodes of Stargate.
Except those, we'll take those down. But the rest of it,
Not at first.
Not at
That's
first.
one of the
you're
ways
right.
they built there. The first time I heard about YouTube was my sister-in-law, Eileen's sister, going, "Haven't you heard of YouTube? You can watch old episodes of TV shows there."
Yeah, yeah. And now it's a repository now that is so. Our assumption is if you say YouTube, you say, "Oh, I'll just throw it up on a YouTube channel." Like, we don't even think about that. I just put a 4K 12 gig file up this morning, and that was fine, and it was free, and I don't have to. In fact, I'll earn money from that video.
Yeah.
I'll get a little money back from it. That's
And so will
crazy
Google.
talk. 20 years ago, well, for sure they'll get 45%. But if you go back in time.
Yeah, 20 years ago, it would have been like,
Oh.
how could you do that? What do you, like, what
Not
kind of
even that.
server
Yeah.
farm are you running? Who's even going to know about this?
It is. YouTube is one of the best repositories for lost media that I can think of currently available freely to the public.
Yeah.
Even archive.org doesn't have the depth and the range of content. Like, you can find all sorts of
Almost
things. I'm not just
anything.
but anything
Certainly
that was
an example of anything.
Yeah, I
I-
mean, there have definitely been some like very specific searches where I'm like, maybe I'm just, I don't know, my childhood memory is weird. And,
How many
or I
times
was
have we
the only
tried
one.
to remember an old commercial and we go to YouTube and we find it?
Yeah. every time.
100%. 100% of the time, I can do it in 30 seconds.
I tell you how crazy it is. My wife found an old coworker's video from her high school, like in the high school senior year. They did a senior year video of that past year, and it's just a compilation. It's like, wait a minute, isn't that so and so that I used to work with? And we go back. It's like, it is. It's totally her, and that's her. And it's just, it's weird because it's just a weird collage of all the stuff we've done, and interestingly enough, it's not as organized, and in some ways it's good that it's not, but it's just kind of thrown up there, and eventually you'll run across it.
Yeah. I mean, we're being pretty glowing about it. I think that there's still, I have some beef with the way podcasts are handled on there.
Yeah.
I have big beef with it. It's not really a podcast at all. In fact, it's really just for YouTube music users, and it's kind of annoying.
When it blocks certain RSS feeds from being ingested, and you have to do a workaround with Headliner to get your podcast to show up, that's not a podcast.
No. And also when it just pulls from I didn't know this, but when you would try to import from an RSS, it's not pulling in perpetuity from your master RSS file for new episodes.
No.
It just took what you gave it, and now if
And
you're
then
going to put more on
re-uploaded
there,
it. Yeah.
So it's I'm annoyed by some of those things. Like I feel like they've just kind of slapdash. They also didn't give YouTube Gaming enough time to take the traction they were hoping to have. Like they're just kind of, some of the stuff is very Google in terms of we tried, we're out sort of attitude about things. But it is hard to deny the vastness and the ubiquitousness of it.
This will be the primary source for future archaeologists to
It's
understand.
clearly a monopoly, by the way. You want to talk about monopolies. Now, whether they've abused that monopoly position or not, that would be something for debate. But there isn't a legitimately successful competitor to YouTube.
Nothing like this.
Everyone uses YouTube.
Once upon a time,
Worldwide.
Vimeo was kind of one, but nah.
Daily Motion still exists. It's still out there,
that's true.
but
There's that.
there's
But no,
several
I mean, it's
Chinese
YouTube.
like Yoututudu and stuff that are still going, and that China would be the one place where YouTube doesn't compete because it's not available
not
without a
allowed.
VPN. But anywhere that it's allowed, it is the place.
Yeah, I'm always a little surprised. And that's why they bend over backwards to stop piracy now, or not just piracy, but like copyrighted stuff. A lot of people think, well, that's just, big company trying to keep the little guy down. A lot of it is them preemptively saying, we're doing the best we possibly can to never have anyone's copyrights ruined. So we're gonna err on the side of even banning an account that
Viacom was
meant
trying to sue it out of existence. That's where you get all of these copyright
Yeah, that's
policies
true.
from.
That was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Big
Those were the days.
Viacom, always.
Oh, YouTube. What would we do without you? What would we do without the people who send us emails? Let's check all the mailbag.
We'd have nothing right now. It would just be silence. It would just be me sitting here staring at
would
you.
be
But
sad.
instead, we are not sad. We are happy because Jonathan emailed us to let us know he's with Roger when it comes to reusing magnets from old hard drives. He writes, I use the drive magnets in my garage as tool holders. And he sent us a picture of old hard drive magnets.
Oh my gosh! Look
Screwed
at those.
into the wall.
Not
holding his
only
tools.
are they okay, so they work as magnets, but they're cool looking.
I love it.
Yeah.
I
They've got
love
a good
that.
aesthetic.
Oh, man.
And it's holding an Allen wrench. I mean,
Do you know
what
how
other
many hard
wrenches can
drives?
you hold?
I've tossed a lot of had them recycled, and now I'm mad that I didn't take those out. I
Yeah,
would've-
take a
I'd do it now.
page
They
out
have
of
little
Roger's
screw
book.
holes,
Well,
and you screw them
you
in.
know,
It's perfect.
What did you say? It's like less than 10 minutes to pop that open and get
like
the
take
magnet.
it open. It's like open a jar of ragu pasta sauce, but a little easier because
Yeah.
a little.
my hands
easier.
aren't as
don't have
big
to
to
boil
grab
any
the jar
noodles.
side.
Yeah.
You don't even have to eat dinner.
That's
All you
right.
do is get a magnet. It's
Don't
great.
Especially
eat
with
them.
ragu.
Is a
I
good.
know.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good warning.
But Jonathan, thank you for that. We love to see how everyone who listens to some of our conversations say, no, I did this, and here's how. Here's a photo or a video or something like that. Maybe
Very
you have
cool
a YouTube
idea.
video. All good.
Love it.
Remember, you can send your comments. That might be a comment, a question, a video, a photo, or anything else to feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Scott Johnson, we're thanking you today because you're just an awesome person.
Oh, is that all I had to do?
Well, keep it up or you're going to be sorry. So what else are you up to these days?
Well, so this stuff with this drop release of Elder Scrolls 4 is a big deal, and I have so much more to say about it. And where will that happen? Well, it'll happen on my weekly video game roundtable podcast called Core. That's at frogpants.com/core. You can find it anywhere you get your podcasts. That includes whatever they call them at YouTube. And you can get all of that very easily today. We're going to talk about that and so much more this Thursday. Once again, that is frogpants.com/core.
Indeed. Thanks to everybody who submitted titles during the show. You can always submit titles in our Twitch chat and our Discord chat, or just go right on over to dtns.showbot.tv, where you can not only submit them, but vote on the ones that other people have submitted. That's the place to go. Stealth Dave leading the way right now with the Geminizer, followed by Clinton Woodward with the Geminizer. See, because Stealth Dave's has the exclamation point.
Oh, I see.
So you have a choice. You have of which one you want. The exclamation
like do you want like a hardcore browser or just kind of
more
like
a
a
straightforward?
just
Do you
kinda
want the
Geminizer?
Do you want the
Passenger.
Plymouth K car or the
Passenger.
Dodge K car?
All right. I mean, I think I like the loud one. I like anything with an exclamation
yeah.
point. Yeah.
You're gonna do it.
Saray-
You're gonna be loud and proud.
Loud and proud. Yep.
Saray, not you, Apple. Saray TW. 119 gigabytes in this economy?
That's pretty good.
I wear Lederhosen with YouTube turns 20. Still buffering.
Nice. Oh my gosh, those
Doesn't
days.
buffer as much as it used to. That used to be a real thing.
I never get buffers anymore.
I haven't
It's
had
like
one in a
magic
while.
now.
I only
TV
get it.
sometimes, but yeah.
Yeah, I get it on TV when it's trying to figure out what ad.
Every so often, yeah. If I'm
Deciding
doing
what
like a
ad it
Plex, some or other, but it's very rare.
C-Spawn's title is great. No bookcase, only memories.
Only memories.
Yeah. Got to keep it in the noggin. Can't be like Tom.
Yeah,
like
Who has
Please.
like the bookcase, to end all bookcases.
How dare I? GPEG84 with Google is such a Geminizer.
Oh man.
It really sounds bad until you realize that it doesn't mean anything.
No,
It
it,
has
actually
a
is
real-
it's just very descriptive.
Yeah.
It has a real Housewives of LA vibe to that statement
Yeah.
for some reason. I don't know why.
No, Scott.
Look, I know
it's
you like
OC
those
or
shows.
Beverly Hills. We don't call it LA.
Salt Lake City.
Okay, all right. The Salt Lake City one got all kinds of people in trouble. So
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
of them-
one
yeah.
woman went to jail.
she did go to jail.
I should be
Still
watching
now.
these
Like
series.
literally went to jail
Obviously, I'm
for like a
missing out.
while.
Still there, I think.
All right, folks.
Yeah.
The real question is, which title did we go with? And did it have an exclamation point or not? Sarah, what did we go with?
All right, everybody. Stealth Dave and Clinton Woodward combined their minds to pick our show title today, which is The Geminizer! Exclamation point.
I concur.
I concur with that title.
That's right.
So wait a minute. If Google ever comes around and makes a product, even if it's not a browser, but they call it the Geminizer, like something based off Gemini, do I get some sort of like fee, finder's fee? Or
Probably not.
No.
No, you get the 60th.
I think the
Do I get a free pizza? Nothing.
possibility is
try.
zero, but
Yeah.
you could make a big stink out of it.
Yeah.
And be like, it was me.
Yeah,
was
and
me
then they'll
first.
counter sue you for trademark infringement.
Yeah, it's probably not a good idea, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, go for it if you're bored on a sad day.
Yeah, do it.
Big thanks to Laminar Rainbow once again for that super sticker right off the top of the show. Thanks to everybody watching us on LinkedIn and on Twitch. C-Spawn cheered us with 100 bits just 5 minutes ago. Thank you for that. Got a follow from DJ Bastic. Nice to have you along, DJ Bastic. I wear Lederhosen, back wearing the Lederhosen for a second month at Tier 1. Yee Oblivion 4.0 rebooted, retextured, retamrieled. Thank you, I wear Lederhosen.
Nice.
So he brings bacon back with 4 bits. Hype Train, Ronan today. W. Scottis 1 resubscribed with Prime for the 64th month. PC Mildacy cheered us with 100 bits. Get Pull Xander resubscribed for the 11th month. Stid Hat for the 46th month. Ryan in Minneapolis for the 17th month with Prime.
Hey.
P Squared for the 32nd month. Everybody resubscribing today. Good to see that. Thanks, everybody, for supporting us in all the possible ways that you can. And big thanks to our patrons for making it possible to even do the show to begin with at patreon.com/DTNS.
Speaking of folks who support our show, first of all, thank you. And second, if you're looking for a maybe snazzy new way to support us, or just, maybe give a gift to somebody that that really would like a DTNS mug or t-shirt or something like that, we have lots of ideas over at dailytechnewsshow.com/store. Pick up a mug, a t-shirt, a mouse pad, new DTNS Live logo. It's very cool looking. They are good looking ways to support us and the show, and could be a conversation starter. And if you are so inclined, send us a photo of yourself on that patio of yours. Boy, do I wish I had a patio, but I don't. If you have a patio and you're drinking coffee, tea, or I don't know, water or lemonade out of your new DTNS mug, I would like to see a photo of it, please.
Yeah,
Thank
even
you.
if it's not your own patio,
Yeah.
just be quick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just go to the neighbor.
yeah. I
and-
mean, don't upset anyone
Yeah.
when they see you run. But before that, take the selfie.
What you do is you get your mug and load it up with Ovaltine, and you go over to Home Depot or something, go to the garden
Ovaltine.
section, and you sit in the
Ovaltine.
Wow,
patio.
I haven't heard of Ovaltine.
Ooh,
in a while.
yeah.
Takes a picture.
yeah.
Right there.
I believe that somebody just bought a one of the purple DTNS pocket tees.
Oh.
So
Nice.
cool.
wear that on the patio too.
Loves
Send us a
it.
picture. If you don't feel comfortable sending a picture, no pressure. But we noticed that you bought it. We hope you enjoy it. Let us know.
Yes. You not mandatory, but encouraged.
Yeah.
You can watch us live on this here show Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 2000 UTC. And thanks to everybody who does hang out with us live. We are obviously available whenever you get your podcasts. But just find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live if you want to be part of our live presentation. We're back doing it all again tomorrow with Andrea Jones-Roy talking about if training an LLM on your work can make it accurately replicate your behavior. We'll talk to you then.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.